mobile homes are actually getting all of those benefits. You see appreciation, you get equity, you get to leverage a loan to build up your net worth. And on top of that, you get a better cash flow model compared to a full rent model.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. Today's guest is extremely passionate, a man on a mission, helping those who are sharing the same challenge that he was as a young man, going through the same pains and just trying to figure out, hey, how are we going to make it this month? And it all comes down to it. It's the housing problem that really pushes people around in so many areas of the country. Today's guest is an entrepreneur building affordable housing with mobile homes. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Franco himself. Mr. Franco, welcome to the show all the way from one coast to the other. You're out there in California. I'm over here on the East Coast. It's dark here while we're recording this, but welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Brett. I'm excited to be here, man.
Very cool. Very cool. I want to dive into what you've got going on. And I always love prefacing our episodes when we don't have a physician on. I'm not a physician, you're not a physician, but here we are on the Real Estate Mogul MD talking to physicians most of the time. And let's jump in and talk a little bit about your background and where is it? I mean, who is Franco right now?
Yeah, I mean, where I'm at is in California. Have a business really focused around affordable housing, and we have a mobile home company that pretty much builds or converts old mobile home trailer-like homes and converts it to large, luxurious 1,700 square foot homes with 12-foot high ceilings, quartz countertops, that sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's what we're doing now.
Very cool. Very cool. I have lots of questions. I want to dive in and get more acute in on the difference of a mobile home versus a stick-built home and some of the benefits that may be there for buyers, and see kind of like from an investor perspective where you end up too. Maybe touch on your entrepreneurial. Is that a word? Entrepreneurial
journey.
Entrepreneurial. We should make up a new word for this. I'm tired of stumbling over it. Entrepreneurial. Very nice. But a little bit about your journey in creating business and running business as well too. So, all right, out there in San Jose, California, you said, tell us a little bit how you got started in the mobile home world.
Yeah. I mean, what's fascinating is I never really planned or wanted to be a business owner back in the day. I guess starting off too, I came as an immigrant family from the Philippines, moved to the Silicon Valley, and I was in a weird situations where my parents had split up. My dad was the main breadwinner. He left the country, and then it was just left with me at 17, 18 years old, having to support my mom and my younger sister at the time to try to survive in this area. And I bring that up because I remember how difficult it was to just survive and to just at the end of every month, gather all the coins we had, sell all the items we had just to pay for that rent bill at the end of every month. And I say that because I know there's a lot of people out there right now that are going through that same struggle, not knowing how they're going to make ends meet and have that sense of anxiety and worry if they're going to make it this month, right? And I say that because for me, after being pretty financially stable as being a real estate agent, I ended up being a real estate agent, did pretty well at that. And then I really disliked it personally because I was in a position where I was being trained to help the wealthiest people I can help get the most expensive homes that they can get. And for me, that just wasn't me. And it hurt me so much to have to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs., you don't make enough money. You don't have enough saved as a down payment. Unfortunately, you can make more and save more, and then later I can help you. But right now, you don't really have a chance to buy out here. Some people are buying out of the area or just continue renting until you have this figured out. And with that, it hurt me so much because I knew the pain I was going through, and I wanted to find a way to help create a stepping stone for people that can't yet afford real estate. But how do we create a stepping stone to help ease them out of that rental rat race to a better model? So explored affordable housing through the government. I really hated how the government worked at that time. And I accidentally stumbled across mobile homes. And from what I thought were trailer trash or a place for criminals, because that's what I saw in the movies, it was actually far from that. I realized that these are actually great communities where families are starting their financial building journey. And, I really wanted to show the world how this is helping so many families. And we helped tons of families transact out of the rental rat race into mobile home ownership, and then from mobile home ownership into real estate ownership. And that's where we're at today. And now we're converting those old homes to new ones too. And we call them sexy mobile homes because people are always shocked at how beautiful they are. And that's kind of my journey. It was more about how do we help create a stepping stone for people? And that was my drive. And, I never went to any formal college and that sort of thing, but that's how we started our business.
Mhm. That's an awesome journey. And I'm hearing like that story and kind of going in two different directions in my mind. One, that stigma that is around mobile homes is there, man. It is there. I myself lived in a mobile home several times throughout my life.
Wow.
So I can completely understand. And now I'm a real estate investor, and it's like that transition that you're talking about. But even like going back, even when I didn't know the stigma was out there, even when you have this idea, okay, this is where I live, and then you realize that it's different than where somebody else lives, and then you start feeling that aura or that sense or that vibe that comes around when you say that's where I live, and you're like, what is that? The bad people live there. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I can understand that. And in those times too, like, so we've got a real estate investment or a real estate acquisition company, and we oftentimes will find ourselves working with people who are in the worst spots in their lives and have this piece of real estate or a house, maybe it's foreclosure, a death, something like that. Divorce was a big one that often, led into where are they going to go? They don't have any money. They don't have any credit. So what are they going to do? And in those situations, Franco, that's where like that mobile home was a great spot. Like it was a great spot to go in where the monthly costs were decreased, but you had your own spot, you had your own piece. So tell us a little bit about the transition when you are helping people go from that, acquiring in the mobile home. Because in my mind, the mobile home, you still have rent because you have lot rent, right? You've got utilities, you've got to pay. So there's still monthly things happening. But tell us a little bit about what that transition looks like for people who use that as a stepping stone to go to a stick build or something bigger.
Totally. And I'm going to lay out kind of in my area, the costs and kind of the big housing problem. But I kind of say this a lot, but the Silicon Valley, it's kind of, it's a little bit of the future of our country, but also the future problems. We start to see the problems early on. And I'm going to say some numbers, which might sound outrageous to most of the country, but understand that the ratios of these problems are typically the same, right? I did consulting in Atlanta, and the ratios and the numbers were like half the price, but the problem was the same. So in our area, a 2-bedroom apartment, if a family of 4 wanted to rent a 2-bedroom apartment, it would cost somewhere around $3,500 a month, right? Very expensive monthly cost. And the understanding of rent is that, hey, people typically live in their house for 5 to 7 years. After 5 to 7 years of renting, that's 100% loss of everything that you've paid. Now let's look at the opposite spectrum, which is a single family homeowner. They own a home, they get tons of benefits, they get tax benefits, they get to leverage a loan to build up their net worth and buy something to build up their net worth. They get the appreciation, they get to have equity. All of these benefits, we all know, are a huge benefit of being a homeowner, but it's not accessible to the working ordinary people. It's not always accessible to them. Now, what's beautiful about mobile homes, it's like a blend of both. because you do own the asset. Yes, you do pay you don't pay the land. You don't own the land. I'm sorry, you do pay rent for the land, but you don't own the land, but you do own the asset above. And it's important people understand that that is an asset and that there is value to that as well, because we are seeing, with a lot of these false myths around, mobile homes are actually getting all of those benefits. You see appreciation, you get equity, you get to leverage a loan to build up your net worth. And on top of that, you get a better cash flow model compared to a full rent model. So if I were to buy a single family home in my area in San Jose, average price point's about $1.5 million. If I wanted to put 10% down, that's $150,000. And my monthly payment would look over $7,000 a month. Huge leap for a family that wants to get out of renting into home ownership. It's almost impossible. And there's this huge wealth gap problem. And if we look at the mobile home picture, which is like that hybrid model of ownership and renting, your space rent's typically about $1,100, 10% down instead. A purchase price of a mobile home is about $350,000 in our area. 10% down is $35,000. And their monthly payment on the mortgage would be about $2,800 a month. So instead of that huge leap, their total payment is under $4,000 a month. However, it's a much better cash flow compared to a full 100% loss on a rental model. Just by shifting to a mobile home, they've improved their cash flow to pay for something that they own, that they get the tax benefits, they get to buy an asset that's appreciating and build equity. And 5 years later, after all the appreciation, they have an asset that they can sell off and then be able to afford a single family home.
So having that nationwide acquisition experience, like the numbers didn't really blow my mind, but the idea of how in the world can somebody, if the minimum hourly rate that you can pay somebody like $15 an hour or something, how do you afford a $350,000 house or even $3,500 in rent? I just don't, I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the geography of our country, it's interesting. Like the average income is different in every area, right? So in our area, the single family home pricing is $1.5 million. And it's just, it's kind of the law of average. But like I mentioned in Atlanta, single family homes could run about $750,000 and the mobile homes themselves could be about $150,000 and the rents could be about $2,000 a month, right?
Mm.
But the goal is having a stepping stone for people to be able to afford, right? But your question was more around like, hey, how does a family be able to afford a $350,000 mobile home? Or was that the question?
Yeah, it's just that price point, no matter where it's at, I'm just thinking relating to what's the income, because there's still jobs that have to be filled that don't pay anywhere near affording anything close to $350,000 home, let alone a $1.5 million home. So just trying in my mind, like how do we even function? Like how does that area stay populated with those lower paid positions,
Yeah, it's kind of a big problem, and that's part why we're very passionate about this mobile home thing. And what's happening is that the wealthy get to benefit from the home ownership side in these cities, while the others have to kind of buy outside of the area and commute in traffic. And if we continue that trend, it's a big problem. However, in our experience, we actually help a lot of teachers that, don't make a high income, but how do we get them to be able to afford a mobile home and feel more financially secure? And, we're helping a lot of these middle income earners be able to save up that down payment. And what I'm expressing is more on the comparison of the single family home. Like the rough world is I have friends right now that are trying to buy a single family home and they're getting outbid at $1.5 million. They're having to put down $200,000. And if that continues to be the problem, this becomes, a perfect solution for them for now, right? It's all about the barrier of entry and how do we lower that barrier of entry and allow for middle class earners to benefit from those benefits.
Yeah.
But to that problem, and at a national level as well, a big part of why that's a big issue is the construction issue, and where, with the problem that I'm saying just a few moments ago, the truth of the scope of the market right now is that it's not going to get any better. It's really looking like it might get way worse as well. If we look at how we build housing, we've built homes the same way over the past 100 years. And how do I say this? Our current skilled labor is over 40 years old and older. And guess what? They're at an age where they want to stop having physical labor as their main income and they're wanting to retire. And we don't have any young generations that are excited about working with a hammer, that are excited about being a plumber and that sort of thing. And with that being the trend, material costs are getting more and more expensive, skilled labor is getting more and more expensive, and we're getting a shortage of it as well. So how do we keep up with this problem when it's so difficult to even build housing, right? And I use this analogy a lot, but if we think about cars were only originally built for the rich and wealthy. It was only until we built this on an assembly line in a streamlined fashion that we were able to make cars available for everybody. And that's exactly what we're doing with mobile homes today. We're taking a construction model that's always been built the same. We transport labor and material to different sites to build housing, and nothing really has changed. But now, if you look at the way we're building these homes today in the mobile home world, we build these in warehouses, in factories, on assembly lines in a much more streamlined fashion, maximizing the effort that's put in by the labor. And with that, at the end of the production line, you have a high quality home that's built and completed at a lower cost to purchase. And by doing that, just by improving the way we construct housing, we're able to produce more housing at a lower total cost, which with that, we're able to pump out several homes at a time out of a factory. And that's how we're innovating with housing construction today.
Awesome. It feels like it's moving almost like towards that modular section, but not
Exactly.
quite fully modular, where it's still meeting the parameters of mobile, in order for, hitting titling, challenges and stuff like that. One of the challenges that I feel as a property owner, and what when I'm seeing trending areas, because if you think about it, if I'm in a bad area, it could fit the what you were talking about the movies projecting a trailer park, kind of like that trailer trash kind of thing. If I'm in a bad area, it's a bad area, and there's bad property owners, bad people, those kinds of things. And that can be in a trailer park, and that could be in a neighborhood. It doesn't matter. It can be either one. And when I look at that, a lot of the issues that I see come from bad property owners, or if it's a multi-unit building, a property manager, bad asset manager. What's your opinion on the park owners then in these areas where you're providing these, quality homes? How does that affect that relationship with the park owner when you're increasing, the quality of the home in these areas?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. There's two parts to my answer. One is I'm very involved with the politics side of it and protecting, affordable housing, and how mobile homes are a really big movement that help, is beneficial to society. So we actually help with a lot of regulations about how the park operators should operate to keep the quality, and to keep this as fair housing for residents. So that's one part. The second to that is, yes, you have unique owners.
Unique.
Yeah. So you have bad owners, you have good owners.
Yeah.
And I say this similar to apartment housing. There are bad apartments, and then there's luxury style apartments as well, right? So you have a full spectrum, and it's the same with mobile homes as well. Most people only see that mobile homes are all, trailer trash, bad stigmas, that sort of thing. But the truth is that there's a full spectrum of mobile home communities, and some that are much, much nicer than single family home communities. With right next to golf courses, they have tennis courts, spas, they have private gyms for for their residents, right? And the key of it is helping the public understand that there is a full spectrum of options. How you choose and select that's going to kind of be up to the experts that you deal with and helping you find the right community. And also, I don't want to down talk some of the bad communities as well, because hey, guess what? To a particular person, that could be that first step for somebody that needs that as their first step.
Yep.
And that might be an option for them, right? But to answer that, it really comes down to who you're working with that nationally to kind of help guide you through that. But first, know is that there are those options out there. I mean, in California, we have more than 4,000 communities alone. And I'd say, you know, in San Jose, there's a few unique bad parks, yes.
Mhm.
But more than 80% of the communities are actually very great communities.
Interesting. And how, as a real estate investor, and the listeners out here who may be considering acquiring the parks or becoming that entrepreneur where they're building that business to either convert existing mobile homes or, help take a step or a stand in changing the way that we're building and producing homes, what is something that we could do as real estate investors or business owners to help this movement?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't have any seeking for like investment or that sort of thing, but there are funds out there that are involved in mobile home park ownership. You don't really you can't as an investor really go into the individual homes like what we're helping with the residents and that sort of thing. But we've recently been doing a lot of consulting for grouped funds or co-ops of entities that are buying mobile home parks, doing financial improvements for them. We help consult and say, hey, if we bring in 15 new homes here, this is how it'll raise the valuation of these parks. And that's something that's been a big movement, especially with real estate kind of making it very difficult to be able to navigate. And mobile homes have been the hot topic in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
But we actually have a few projects I can't talk about till next year, or till actually it's already 2024, but till the end of this year. But I think one is just being aware that it is an option out there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also a challenge too, Franco, when we're as an investor, in asset management, if I want to increase the valuation of this, whether for myself or for the investors, and that also creates this kind of like double-edged sword when we're talking about affordable housing. If I come in as an investor and increase the property values or increase the rents, then it's a double-edged sword against the affordability of the home,
Yeah, and what I love about our approach towards it is it's not fully exactly that. We actually set up a system to where we help guide the residents themselves to basically understand the asset that they have, and we help, provide systems for them to be able to gain equity from it as well. So with what we do is a lot of these, let's say it's a single wide home, they don't realize the value of what their home is, and they don't realize that you can actually turn this into a double wide. I'll put numbers in our area, but it's different in Atlanta and that sort of thing. Someone owns a single wide, let's say it's worth 100,000. If they work with us to convert this single wide to a double wide, beautiful, sexy mobile home, 1,500 square foot, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, it would cost somewhere around $250,000, right? They can get a loan on that, whatever. But the new resale appraised value of that mobile home itself could be around $400,000, right? How do we create win-win solutions for the residents, for the park owners, and for the families to have more space? And in return, both are providing value as far as creating more affordable housing in this area, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the key of how we run our model, is to be win-win to both parties, because one is it inspires the neighbors to also raise the value of their unit, but simultaneously you have the park residents feeling nice that there's newer homes available, and the ratio of the new homes are increasing in the community as well.
Yeah. Awesome. And my wandering mind, Franco, I'm thinking, okay, this is similar to real estate. And I know I've seen other investors who actually rent mobile homes out as well too. So if, taking that step and moving towards their own home ownership out, after the mobile home. They could even rent these things out too, right? I mean, do you see people doing that?
In certain areas, it's becoming less and less popular because governments kind of want to keep these as primary residence.
Hmm.
So actually, a lot of park owners that I know are actually trying to steer away from that model because it's becoming one of the beautiful things about these communities is that, let's say you're a park owner, you don't have to fix a broken toilet, you don't have to fix a roof or anything like that because you're not an owner of that. But also the beauty for society is that when a family is buying a mobile home in these areas, they're buying it for it to be their primary residence. And that being said, you're not competing with investors that want to continuously rent this out, which isn't driving the price up like real estate is today,
Hmm.
right? But that's kind of the new motion of where mobile homes are going. But yes, there are still some parks that do rent this out to try to get a better cash flow and that sort of thing, but it's becoming less and less common.
Hmm. Very interesting. Rick, if you could go back 10 years and set beside somebody that would maybe on the same path or have this drive, this passion to help others who have experienced maybe similar challenges that you have, and knowing what you know now, what would you tell that person?
It's tough. That's a tough question. I'd say, there's a lot of noise out there about, hey, how do we make so much money in X amount of time? But I think there's also, if you're like me, I feel like I was never really driven by money, but I still tear up today when I see a family get their first piece of home ownership. And that to me is like the best compensation ever. And I think chasing the success stories of these families is really what personally drove me to want to continue working hard every single day, waking up early every morning and working late nights is to help a family that was going through the pain that I was going through. Even if I just helped one family start their journey of success, that to me was fulfilling. And after being successful once, twice, or 100 times, I just wanted to do and help more. And I think what I'm trying to say here is really find a place where you can help ease the pain of someone else or help create value for someone else. And when you find that deep why, money really doesn't matter anymore. It's more about being resourceful and more about how do you help more people. And I think when you find a way to help people, you just kind of gravitate towards building and growth.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that's really what drove me. And I didn't realize that at the time, but to me, that was the most important thing. And that's what I would tell myself is just focus on helping more people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And your reward is that it's that the thing that you can't touch, right? And it's kind of even hard to explain. Like what you say, you still kind of tear up when you're able to help a family do that. And you're right, man, right on. When you are able to focus on the giving, that's when that return just becomes part of the system. And when you're focused on giving more and helping more, money goes away. And there's a certain point in life where you can take away from the material things and take away from just wanting more yourself. When you find that passion or that answer to help other people and it aligns with your passion, your drive, and you're blessed enough to, hey, you can make a business out of this thing as a side effect of it and still even help more people because your business is doing good. I mean, that's an awesome situation.
I know, and it's and it helps with because no matter what you do, whether it's career or starting a business, you're going to have hard hurdles where you want to give up. But when you have a strong why of why you want to continue, that's what's going to get you past those hurdles,
Yeah.
and that's what's going to get you to want to figure that out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I completely agree 100%. And www.franco.tv. That's FRANCO.tv. You've got a ton of stuff out there, man. You've done a ton of stuff. It's been awesome spending some time with you. If the listeners want to learn anything else about mobile homes, look at some of these. I'm looking at the press kit here on my screen for the listeners here. I'm just smile on my face because these things are sexy mobile homes. They look like the Chip and JoJo style flip my house kind of thing. Like you cannot like it's crazy that that's a mobile home. But check it out, www.franco.tv. TV and check this guy out. There's lots of content on there. All the social media links are there as well too. Franco, appreciate your time, man. It's awesome. I loved learning about your experience, your journey, and sharing that with the listeners today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I appreciate what you're doing and building value for all your listeners too.
Yep. Yeah. And if you're just finding that one connection, because obviously the challenge as an investor is, increasing that valuation. But I think that 10-year question for you really hits it on the spot. And why I like asking that question, and how can we as a network or community of investors move that needle a little bit? How can we implement these ideas and help find this way where we all can benefit from that? And that's as us as investors and as entrepreneurs, when we tune our hearts to the right thing, and that aligns with our passion of helping people and giving more. When that heart is tuned and you've got your goals set in the right direction, everything else comes along. And then the answer presents itself. The obstacle is the way, the newest thing here. All right. Well, Franco, thank you
I
so
love
much for your time again, man. And to the listeners, thank you for listening today. If you have the chance, please shoot us an email, info@Physician Wealth Systems. Let us know if you have a guest that you'd like to have on the show or any questions. Hey, if we want to talk more about mobile homes, talk more about parks, bring Franco back. Let's do it. Shoot us an email. This is Brett, and this is the Real Estate Mogul MD.